Hello, welcome to Steve's Place, and I'm your host, Steve Elswick. And for many of you who do not know me, I've been doing this for about 30 or 40 years. And this is fairly new to this broadcast, and so bear with me. Anyway, the first thing I'd like to uh, go to would be introduce you to what we need to do here, our website. And so if you bear with me, I can share a screen here. Window. Okay, this is our website, uh, the Tesla Tech Online Information Center. And for many of you who have never been here, um, in this corner here, I have the Tesla Tech channel. And I also have a conference directory. For those of you who are having a hard time to find material, go to teslatech.info, click on the conference directory, and it will bring up this page here. And on this page here, if you notice in the middle, we have every conference listed. Okay, and to find out who's speaking, if the videos are up there already, just click on the YouTube, and we'll bring up the YouTube channel. Uh, and I did this. I'm going to do it for speakers later on, but I did this right now for the conferences to make it easier for people to find stuff. The other thing we need people to do is to actually join our YouTube channel. So you click on the YouTube channel, you can go here, and we have a couple of different types of membership. First is a subscribe. So everybody should just click on the subscribe button, and subscribe is free. It don't cost you nothing. And it gets you access to all of our public videos that we have out there right now. Now, what we would hope you to do is that you like our videos so much you want to help us out and to get access to all the videos when we put them up. Like in the next month, we'll be putting up over 100 videos. To see those videos immediately, you click on join, and we'll bring up here. And what we need people to do is join the exclusive level. It's $9.99 a month, and it gives you early access to our new videos, and it gives access to exclusive member-only videos. And someday soon, we'll maybe do a members-only live streams. We're not there yet. Anyway, back to the main program here. And I'd like to introduce you to our next guest. His name is Russell Anderson. He's been working in the field of anti-gravity probably as long as I've been doing conferences on that, alternative energy. And Russell has a degree in software engineering, and he's worked with such luminaries as Dr. Professor Searle from England, who has the world-renowned flying discs and everything. So, without further ado, let me introduce Russell.
Hey, Steve. Hi, everybody. Yeah. How are you doing tonight? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. And so, to get things started, you first started a lot of your research on those TT Brown flying discs and everything. When did you do that?
Oh, gosh. I built my first CT Brown 2-foot diameter flying discs way back in like January 30th, the end of January of 1990. So that was like just over 32 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. Time flies when you're having fun. But yeah, I built them just copied the patent, just aluminum disc, copper forward electrode, copper tube, 1/4-inch copper tubing, and powered by high voltage DC pulse with square waves. And they work, they fly. If you have them around a pole, they just sail around the pole without any energy, without hardly any energy, and almost no noise, just some weird electrical sounds. And this intrigued me even further. It showed me that I was on the right path toward anti-gravity, which is the same thing as warp drive. In other words, not using heat energy aerodynamics or internal combustion for lift and propulsion. So you're not breaking things apart and creating heat. You're not not doing things in opposition to nature. Nature doesn't work that way. Nature operates in a land of cold and creation, not heat and destruction. So by doing so, not only are we generating all kind of positive energy, but saving the planet, saving our universe, and saving ourselves, lengthening our lifespans by not using destructive, polluting methodologies for transportation. All electric propulsion should be our goal. And it looks like we're heading in the right direction.
Well, what I did is I threw up on the screen here uh, a sheet of a lot of different anti-gravity devices and that, and I guess since the days of T.T. Brown, um, can you point out one of those flying discs for those who haven't seen them before?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm also seeing the new Navy Pais patents. This guy named Pais, Pais, basically patented a UFO that that uses a compact fusion reactor and does anti-gravity. It works in underwater, works in the air, works in outer space. And it's like, gosh, where have you seen that before? Even the shape is reminiscent of Professor Searle's apparatus that Professor Searle made my responsibility to redevelop for Century 21. The top two photos are my reproduction, my first attempts at reproduction of a newer Russian anti-gravity device by a man named Alexei Chekhirkov, like Chekhov with a K-U-R in the middle, Chekhirkov. And his device, the second from the left, you can see levitating in his living room somewhere in Russia, in Russian Federation. And let's see, second row, far right, is a top view of that device on the ground. And that's what I've been working on for the past little over 3 years now, replicating that Russian device. And I've also been working on the Searle apparatus in terms of getting funding and making that happen, and picking up where we left off about 6 years ago in prototyping and getting that sort of thing going here in Florida. So I got a lot on my plate.
What you need to do, Russell, is like take and bring out your screen. You need to have your screen on to move your cursor on that screen so we can see it. What you're talking about, things.
Ah, okay. All right. I got. Can you see the cursor moving on the screen? Yeah. There we go.
I don't see it on my screen. So what you need
Oh,
to
I
do,
see. I see it on my screen. I don't know how to get it on your screen.
You kind of have to make that your focus point. You have to go to the tab on top, and click on it so that, and you won't see what you're doing, but you'll see you'll be able to do things on the screen. This new feature that they have done for us is they allow the guests to share screens, which is pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah. Can you see the cursor now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. These two middle photos are my earlier attempts 3 years ago, and you probably saw a couple of these devices at the conference in 2019. And this is my old lab, an apartment in southeastern Pennsylvania. Now I live in Florida. I live and work in Florida, Central Florida. But anyway, these are my first attempts. This one right over here is a successful flying prototype from Alexei Chekhirkov. And this exact unit was shipped to our associate colleague researcher, Charles Crawford III in Texas. And he is helping us to reproduce this effect, since he now has basically this exact same prototype in his possession, and is able to get exact precise measurements to share with us and the world, so we can get this going for good and all, and then have lots of exciting enhancements like vector control, radio control, and all that sort of thing. Basically, an electrogravitic drone is our goal, and then a manned platform, manned spaceships, starships. It works. Very efficient, very way over Unity. Thousands and thousands of times over Unity, and more efficient than any kind of propulsion, jet propulsion, rocket propulsion, electric propulsion. It's obviously the way to go. And right here is you can see the cursor over that photo is a schematic of this, of the device just above and to the left of this Russian flying device. He calls it Graviflyer. Used to call it a Gravilod. Graviflyer calls it, and been working on that. And this will, successful reproductions will help generate money to do the other stuff we want, which is this, the Searle technology, which is now patented, and that we champion. And it's probably one of the only ways I can see to get into space cheaply, efficiently, safely, with a system that is interplanetary and definitely interstellar. Since this system, this flying system, has no inertia, anything attached to it also has no inertia. Dr. Gabriel Lippmann discovered, I forget exactly when, but Nobel Prize winning scientist discovered that inertia is solely dependent upon net charge and not mass or amount or density of material. So you can, he called it the inertia of static electricity. If you charge a body negatively, it's going to have little to no inertia. If you charge a body positively, it's going to have a lot of inertia and actually be heavier. So think about this. If you have an electrogravitic spaceship, it's not getting heavier and heavier and heavier as you increase speed. Then you can increase the speed very, very rapidly. Before you know it, you're going at 200, 300 times the speed of light. What is that, warp 6, warp 7? You get to Proxima Centauri in a few days and back with no time dilation. Your ship time is going to remain the same as Earth time. So your friends and family won't be really any older than you when you get back. You won't have aged quite as much because there's only 1/2 g onboard gravity. So that means less. Actually, strike that. You'll be aging slightly faster, ever so slightly faster, because 1/2 g instead of 1 full g. But that amount will be negligible in warp drive, terms of warp drive. So that's something we can say. That's something else that Gene Roddenberry got right when he was developing the canon for Star Trek, the original Star Trek, which holds up incredibly well today. And right over here is a device from Otis T. Carr, and he had a company, Otis T. Carr Enterprises. And it also patented this device, but the only reason it was granted was because it had the name amusement device on it and not anti-gravity interstellar spaceship on it. But he studied with, and was a contemporary of Nikola Tesla. And Nikola Tesla basically developed the idea for the flying saucer, which was fundamentally an electrical flight means. So these ships, the plans can be found online on Rex Research site and elsewhere. And this is also an electrified spaceship's flight means, warp drive, whatever you call it. And this device here and these devices on the rim that look like cones are called Utrons. You look at it from the top, it looks like a circle. Look at it from the side, the profile looks like a square. It's a geometrical form that creates these interesting pulses in these electromagnets when they pass through the electromagnets. And then you have these U-shaped capacitor plates, single plate capacitors, basically on either side of this dielectric here. So it's like you're creating spinning capacitor plates, torsion fields with those spinning plates, and a unique waveform when these Utrons bump through these electromagnets at the periphery. So you have a rotor going in one direction and counter-rotating charged hull going in the other direction. Here's your flight deck right up here for your passengers and crew. And this resembles a lot of early UFO photos that were taken all over the world starting in the early 1940s. Really interesting stuff.
Well, when you look for inspiration for your research, have you ever looked into like David Hamel?
Of course, yes. There's that book, wrote that book, The Granite Man and the Butterfly. The Hamel Disc, quote unquote, has been described as the poor man's Searle disc because it just uses ordinary ferrites and these strange, unusual pink granite pinions and aluminum cones. And it's very interesting. It develops a very, very high charge when these cones are set into wobbling kind of motion. Eventually, the wobble, it gets into such a high frequency, the only way you'd be able to see it is with a strobe light. But what's actually happening is that air is rushing in between those cones, in and out through a hole in the bottom of the device. And that air is charged, and uncharged air builds up a tremendous charge like a thunderstorm, not unlike a thunderstorm. And you get millions and millions and millions of volts on the skin of such a craft, of the Hamel craft. And one such craft was built on the roof deck part of his house, and it developed a glow when he set it in motion, set the disc wobbling, basically, the cones inside the disc wobbling, and developed a very, very, very high electrostatic charge, developed a glow around it, first orange, then red, then yellow, then purple, then bright white, and then took off for parts unknown whilst the surrounding neighborhood was blacked out, which made him really popular with his neighbors. But there you have all, if not all, many of the reported effects of UFOs and similar anti-gravity craft, or craft, not anti-gravity. Anti-gravity is kind of a poor choice of words. Craft that utilize artificial gravity via their unique geometry and electromagnetic components that allow levitation and flight. And of course, any physicist will tell you that the force of gravity is orders of magnitude weaker than electromagnetism. In fact, electromagnetism has so much strength compared to gravity. Gravity is the weakest of the four fundamental forces in nature. So anything powered and levitated by electromagnetic flight means will easily overcome any gravity. I imagine even black hole gravity.
So that Hamel device, though, that would be like about what, the third one across, fourth one across on the top line there,
Let me see.
where he actually has like two magnetic magnets there. Oh, right next to the anti-gravity files.
Where am I looking? Which row am I looking?
Down, go down, back to the anti-gravity files, right next to it.
Oh, that one.
But that would be your David Hamel device. We have the two magnetic magnets there opposing each other, forcing the bottom one into a spin, and the top thing is pushed down. If I remember right, with these huge.
That's not the Hamel device. That one is not the Hamel device. Let me see if I can bring up the Hamel device for you. I'll open up a separate window. Hold on.
That's the operate principle. And I thought that was kind of unique. And they have these boulders that you find around the world there, which are rounded, are actually discarded spacecraft engines, according to these guys. You know, so.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to go back and open up another tab.
Yeah.
This one should have it.
And for those out in the audience, on the lower right-hand screen there should be like a box which allows you to go to full screen. I would recommend you try that, because what it does when we're throwing these documents and diagrams up, you can actually read them when you're in full screen.
Okay, you got it.
So, okay. Yeah.
All right. So, can you see the cursor?
Yeah, I can see the cursor.
Okay, good. Hope everybody at home is able to see it as well. Here's the Hamel device, the poor man's Searle disc. Really interesting device. When we get the Searle stuff going, which we will this year, we are. Things are opening up, people-wise, funding-wise, technology-wise. Well, technology is there and it's been patented. But anyway, this is right over here on the left-hand side. That's basically an oil drum model, basically for seeing how the components go together for the Hamel device. Let's see that animation shows the wobble of the cones inside an oil drum test unit. That's what you should see inside the flying saucer. Uh, but it happens many, many, many times a second, much faster than your eyes can see.
And if you look at the very top there, okay.
Yeah, that's a magnet in repulsion. When you screw that down, well, normally it's up, so you won't have any motion. When you screw that down and start to get it in proximity with that magnet, notice they're the same polarity. It will start to reject a little and repel a little, but it's always off balance.
Well, you put what it does, Russell, is that push when you have those two magnets going together. It's actually increasing the force, and the force has got to go somewhere, so it goes into the rotation of the lower one. Okay, and that
Yeah, it kind of
the little
dances around, and that lower one, that lower disc, there's the cursor, has 3 granite pinions. It's a special kind of pink granite. It must have some kind of natural electrical charge, or else it makes a really, really good dielectric. I think kind of both. And a charge, being a dielectric, electrostatic charge would kind of hang out around those granite pinions, as well as the tornado-like rushing of air through the 3 cones. And notice that these magnets, these rim magnets, are in opposition too. See, on top, you've got either south-south or north-north up there. Next one, it's a different polarity, south-south or north-north. And the third one, also a different polarity, but they're always in opposition, not in attractive mode. They're in repulsive mode. So they're always a little off balance and unstable, and develop this circular kind of wobble that makes a tornado-like rushing of air. And then these diagrams up here are what the saucer, the flying disc, looks like in the very basic block diagrams, showing the magnets and the pink granite pinions and pink granite cups that hold the pinions and the balls, granite balls and everything. But it is a really, really simple device. This one is the let's see, you can make it out of a coffee can to demonstrate the principle. And here is a little diagram showing the vectors of what the spin looks like. Notice on the top one, that would be this one, the top cone, is orbiting one way. The next one, that'll be this one, is orbiting the other way. And same thing for this one, it's orbiting the opposite way of the middle one. And that's why you have those magnetic poles arranged like you do. Repulsion, repulsion north, repulsion, repulsion south, repulsion, repulsion north. So that's what you have here. Repulsion, repulsion north, repulsion, repulsion south, repulsion, repulsion north. So you're constantly in repulsion. And that's really interesting, because that flight means that methodology for generating the charges necessary for electrogravitic flight he got from being a UFO contactee and taken aboard a UFO more than once.
Well, I also want to refer people to
here we go. Yeah, David Hamel, Mysteries of the Invisible. David reveals his contact with extraterrestrials. If you look, quote, if you look on the walls of the pyramids, you will see my theories, unquote. Really fascinating stuff. It's a DVD set. I don't know if it's still available. David Hamel, UFO contactee, educator, anti-gravity, and inventor of the free energy Hamel spinner. There was a story. One guy built it. I don't know if it was Hamel or somebody else who built one in this configuration of the either the coffee can or the barrel or oil barrel drum. I think it was the oil barrel drum. He activated it by screwing down the repulsion magnet on top. This is a screw that's you're able to turn and screw down or lift up. This repulsion magnet gets everything going. Well, there didn't seem to be anything happening, so he left it alone. Around the middle of the night, he was lying in bed and became aware of a dull red glow that was coming from the room where he had the device. And he was walking to the rooms. Good thing he didn't make it, because at some point there was a tremendous explosion, which turned out to be an implosion. The device basically imploded, and there were shards of metal basically all around. And the device was was in pieces, but it had apparently developed enough pressure, enough charge to implode, which it's not really supposed to do. It's supposed to develop a flow of energy. Well, obviously it did develop a tremendous flow of some kind of electromagnetic energy, which caused it to implode. That's very important, because we see again and again in Victor Schauberger's work, in Professor Searle's work, that implosion and a falling temperature gradient is a key to cohering these force fields that are to be found everywhere in the structure of space-time, and use them for very, very, very powerful anti-gravity propulsion and warp drive to explore the universe and colonize our universe, basically. Doesn't take very, very long to get from point A to point B using electrogravitics.
Well, I think our these guys, the SpaceX program and everything, they're kind of like barking up the wrong tree, with these chemical rockets. I worked on the space shuttle at one point. I did the worked on the seats. With AMI. We provide seats to the space shuttle on that, and I know at one point they built an extra space shuttle. They have all the parts there to build another space shuttle, but the government would never approve of Lockheed and Rockwell and companies to go together and build that last shuttle, and what I want to bring everyone's attention to is back in '98 we did a special issue on anti-gravity. And we covered things like the anti-gravity squadron, the Hamel device, which is based on Egyptian hieroglyphics. We had T. Townsend's Brown work and ion propulsion. We covered it all in this really good issue. We still have that available as a back issue. It was October through December of '98, volume 2, number 4 of the old exotic research, when I lived in the back country of Arizona, there, Stanfield, Arizona. And it was a very good issue, I thought. I am working on our next issue, and on this next issue, I have an article by actually you, Russell. One of the articles you gave me, I just haven't gotten it printed yet, and I'm working on it. So.
Oh yeah, I remember I submitted that article way back, like a couple years. No, it was more than that. It was 2019, and now it's 2022. So that was like almost 3 years ago. My goodness, how time flies.
Yeah,
we had the pandemic. The conference was canceled a couple of years ago because of the pandemic. Oh, that was kind of horrific. Still is.
And what we need to do is get young people involved in this stuff, because
yes,
all the stuff you see with all the big bucks like SpaceX and that, they're all chemically based. And personally,
using heat energy. Yeah, we don't want to use heat energy. We want to use cold energy like nature does, and we can be far more effective and get far more effective propulsion that's congruent with how nature works.
And we don't need to be adding any more chemicals to the atmosphere unnecessarily. But like in that, I believe for many years, that the government has they have another way of getting up there. They have to have, because I just can't see our government giving up the high ground to anybody, and I think this whole thing, with getting rid of the space shuttle, and that was just a way of separating the military from the civilian space programs, you know. And now you have it all so militarized on the military side. They even have their own little uh, department now or branch, you know. And but I believe, you know, they're probably using this anti-gravity stuff. When I was in college back in the mid '80s, um, the recruiters gave me a bunch of posters, you know, and one of the posters was the Aurora, you know, and they had me, you know, they let me go and hand them out to because I was an electrical engineer, and they want to recruit electrical engineers. So this is the kind of stuff that gets us engineers kind of excited. And after I handed them out, they come back to me a couple weeks later and said, "Hey, those posters we gave you, what did you do with them?" I said, "Well, I gave them out." He said, "Oh, that was a mistake. You know, those were classified." So, so I'm pretty sure they're pretty far along then because they also took us down to Albuquerque, down to Kirkland Air Force Base, and they just had gotten the airborne laser working, you know, with the ring laser to modulate the atmosphere, like, you know, to counter it. And now here it is, what, 30, 40 years later. Now it's the hottest thing out there in the military, you know, these laser weapons and that. So yeah, they're about 30 or 40 years ahead of us. So I think that you're on the right track. Yeah. So where do you see this going, Russell?
Yeah. Well, I see it basically going public now. The every basically since the 1950s, every aerospace company and subcontractor you can name, and a few ones you can't, like EG&G, Sperry Rand. Oh my gosh. Uh, um, Direct International Science Consortium. A bunch of aerospace giants. Uh, Basically have had this access to this technology and developed a lot of electromagnetic rigs and developed, of course, we know the Grumman Aerospace and other companies discovered way back in the 60s that if you electrify an airfoil, you eliminate skin heating and sonic boom, which indeed is what we see in these craft. And that, of course, we have the Grumman, the stealth Spirit B-2 bomber. Tom Vallone and others and myself know that it is an electrogravitic craft. It exhibits all the features and advantages of a boundary layer craft, or a craft that eliminates basically boundary layer and sonic boom, and is basically an embodiment of Thomas Townsend Brown's electrokinetic apparatus and Thomas Townsend Brown's patent for a flame jet generator, which of course can generate potentials up to 15 million volts. I've worked on such technology myself, and 15 million volts is way, way more than enough, even without good dielectrics, high K factor, high mass dielectrics. Even without that, to get incredible, powerful warp drive effects, which is the same thing as anti-gravity. You're just traveling in the direction of your positive pole, whichever direction your positive pole is oriented. Your ship, which is opposite polarity negative, is just chases it along like Coulomb's forces. The electrostatic force is second only to the strong nuclear force, which holds atomic nuclei together.
So, so what would you tell some young whippersnapper what he needs to do to get started on this stuff in his garage, for instance? What would he need to do?
Well, gosh, I've been selling, this is the 20th anniversary this year. I've been selling electrogravitic kits called beam ships to the public, and I've helped kids win science fairs in places like Dearborn, Michigan, and Plano, Texas, in the early 2000s with my electrogravitic beam ships, and help kids get scholarships, get on TV, and basically it's not so much the knowledge itself, although the knowledge is important. It's the inspiration that it gives the young people to show them that, yes, they can, if they focus hard enough and long enough on their dreams, cause those dreams to manifest into reality. and you can live your dreams like I have been living my dreams, and develop these technologies for good and all. Thomas Townsend Brown may be gone, Nikola Tesla may be gone, Professor Searle may be gone, Otis T. Carr, and all the others, but we have you young people out there who have goals and dreams of making us a multi-planet species, a multi-planet culture, to get us off the planet so the Earth can repair and renew. And we have technologies so that we don't destroy the next planets that we inhabit. And we can use clean electrical power, such as generated by and cohered from the vacuum by Professor Searle's patented apparatus, which Spintronics owns the patent of in Professor Searle's name. So we can have clean, cheap energy, interstellar travel, warp drive. Basically, we've had this technology for 75 years, 76 years. And now is the time that it's, with disclosure in the wind and everything else going on, with people becoming aware via platforms such as the internet, that we are in a new paradigm. And disclosure has shown us that not only do these craft exist, but we have had the similar technologies since the early part of the 20th century. And 100 years later, now it's that technology is getting into the public's hands, the general unwashed public. And the general unwashed public is where the best ideas come from, not these government labs, although a lot of incredible stuff comes out of there. Most of it stays within the hallowed halls of the government. It just takes a couple of people with vision to get things really going for good and all. And we've seen that over the last couple of decades. Electrogravitics, electric propulsion for aerospace and maritime concerns is coming to the fore finally. And we can have these devices for good and all in our society, proliferate in our society. And within our lifetime, we become an interstellar civilization. I believe Ben Rich when he said we already have the technology to take ET home. Ben Rich, excuse me one sec. Ben Rich, as you probably know, was the former head of the Skunk Works, Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. And a lot of really classified and incredible technology came out of there, including the SR-71 spy plane, which, even though it's been retired, is still has a lot of aspects of its operation classified. Way ahead of its time.
So what are your plans to do here for the next year? Outside speaking at our conference.
Well, I'm continuing to develop and recopy the anti-gravity device from Alexei Chekhov. Now that we have precise details on its operation, it's just a question of resonance, getting the fields, the three primary fields in resonance, the torsion fields. That's the on-off duty cycle, the frequency of the ultrasonics, and the frequency of the Tesla coil. So that is quite a bit more complicated than the static devices. It's more akin to Searle effect device, where you have a power unit with dozens of moving parts, of course, which don't touch, but they're basically riding on magnetic gears, gear teeth made out of magnetic fields. And it's a really, really interesting thing that the Searle technology that I'll also be working on and reprototyping for Century 21. Now that things are starting to open up and funding's starting to trickle in, and minds are starting to open up, wallets and minds are starting to open up.
So you are coming to the conference for sure, right?
Yes. I don't know if I'm going to do the conferences, the magnetics conferences in Europe. I'll probably be too busy. Maybe if they cough up some money, I will, see if I can squeeze in, a couple of conferences in Europe. But more likely, I will not be attending those. However, I definitely am coming to Albuquerque for Tesla Tech this August. I will be in attendance, and I will have a table set up, and I'll be selling more of my famous B-filled Brown beamship anti-gravity kits, which are award-winning and mind-expanding.
So I take it you won't be be flying down there in your anti-gravity craft yet, huh?
No, no, no. Just like everything else, it takes money to build. I mean, we know how to build it. Just need the funding to build it, and that's why we're concentrating on building these TT Brown. Well, I'm sorry, Searle prototypes. I built TT Brown craft, and gosh, they work better than what's claimed in the patents. But anyway, I'll be working on reprototyping, and there's a lot involved. Sourcing the materials, powder pressing, magnetizing the materials, sintering, quality control, checking the fields, driver units with a load cell to get them going. There's a lot to do, and by gum, we're going to do it. We don't work for anybody but the shareholders.
Isn't it frustrating though to see someone like SpaceX and that? These people have all these millions of dollars to work with, and all they can do is try to replicate what the Apollo did back in the '60s. I was growing up back then.
Yeah, me too. I followed the entire space program from Mercury on when I was a very wee little laddie. But I like the fact that they've taken chemical propulsion using heat energy to its pretty much limit. Back when Apollo was happening and all the other space missions, first Mercury Redstone, then Mercury Atlas, they were just using heat energy and internal combustion. And apparently, John F. Kennedy knew of Professor Searle's work over in England in the early 60s, and he wanted to use Professor Searle's methodology to get people and payloads into space, and not the Robert Goddard method, which the Nazis copied for pennies on the dollar, copied the patents after obtaining them for pennies on the dollar, and enhanced the guidance system and the chemical propulsion, liquid propulsion, to turn it into the V2. And the Redstone, which got the Alan Shepard and the first Mercury astronauts up, is basically the exact same thing as a V2, with just a cylindrical body instead of a bullet-shaped body. But yeah, we have had this technology of warp drive, and we don't need rockets. But Professor Searle wanted to do and had proven warp drive with his apparatus, and proven that we don't need heat energy and massive amounts of fuel. We don't need to carry fuel. Don't need to burn oxygen. Don't need to burn anything. In fact, what you have in the levitating and flying craft is intense cold, about 4 Kelvin. Flight voltage is something like 10 to the 12 volts, and current always stays at 1.5 milliamps. And you're at 4 Kelvin, icy cold, and no noise. No, instead of deafening rockets and the earth shaking and quaking and everything, there is dead silence. And that is one of the defining characteristics of genuine UFOs. No matter the size, there is dead silence. Well, electromagnetic propulsion doesn't produce any explosions or heat energy, so of course there's going to be no noise.
Wow. But you know that we're still using the same guidance system that Goddard developed, that the
Yes.
Germans stole.
Yeah, only we're using now with SpaceX and everybody using piezoelectric gyros. And back in the 1950s, the spaceships always landed on their tails, and wherever they were going, the moon or Mars, and then it came back in a single stage. I like the way that Elon has taken chemical propulsion to its absolute limit, and having the boosters land back at base or on barges to be reused like they should. And it's brought down the cost of space work. Using Professor Searle's methodology, it brings down the cost of space work by vast sums, with a capital V, vast sums, to enable even the common man to be able to take rides in space. You don't have to be a multimillionaire to go into space. We're talking about day trips to the moon and weekly trips to Mars and monthly excursions to Proxima Centauri, just 4.3, just a scant 4.3 light years distant. With electrogravitic technology, it would take maybe a week to less than a month to get there and back with no time dilation because there's no inertia. Inertia mass is nullified by the electrical force fields. Still have gravitational mass, but no more inertia, no inertial mass. So that's why they can make these UFOs and the Searle craft and the Beefeld Brown craft make instant starts and stops, instant flips and changes of direction, right angle turns at any speed with no sensation of motion from inside, which is, again, what we see in these craft, since the 1920s when they started to be coming here in great numbers and observed by people from the Jazz Age to World War II. And, of course, UFO or UAP activity is at its highest point in all history and increasing, which is, I find, really, really interesting.
Well, I believe that the Germans, realized the limitations of chemical weapons, when they, with their V1 and V2 rockets, and they started the Nazi Bell, which I believe is an anti-gravity device, and they were going off into the electrogravitic thing, which is where we should be.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to talk about that this summer in August at Tesla Tech, that the Nazis, basically just like the German Rocket Society headed by Hermann Oberth and Werner von Braun, they had German alternative energy societies like the Vril and Thule societies that were led by psychics such as Maria Orsic and her group that supposedly took the work of Thomas Townsend Brown going on at that time in the USA and ran with it. First patent from Thomas Townsend Brown was a British patent in early 1930s. Well, they were doing this technology starting in the early 1930s. Some of it channeled, quote unquote, from extraterrestrial sources, some of it from earthly sources, which was just as effective. And they basically gave birth to these saucer-shaped craft that basically are doing the exact same thing that UFOs do, traveling at ultra high speeds, right angle turns at any speed, no sonic boom, no visible means of propulsion, no visible means of support. And basically we have this technology already. It's been in the military domain of various countries like Germany, and Operation Paperclip brought a lot of those rocket scientists and saucer scientists from Germany over here back in 1946, 47. And what do we see? From 1947 to 1952, there were more UFO sightings and UAP sightings and sightings of green fireballs and such in New Mexico than any other place on Earth from 1947 to 52. That speaks volumes for what may have been going on with Operation Paperclip.
What most people don't realize is that in the 1940s, New Mexico was America's spaceport. First of all of our nuclear weapons were in New Mexico at Walker Air Force Base there, which is Roswell. Also, Goddard worked out of Roswell. In fact, then they had the 60th anniversary of the spacecraft crash there. I was lucky enough to be there, and when I walked outside, I noticed, hey, this is the Goddard Space Museum. Inside the building that we were adjacent to, they had Goddard's lab, his physical lab, and right there, they put in that building. They had they had one of his rockets sitting outside this building, and here they are having a UFO conference right there. And it's like these people don't even realize the significance of that,
Exactly.
And
yeah.
that's why the aliens have been there.
This German technology was really American technology. Everybody thinks our space program was German technology. Oh no! Back in the day, 20s and 30s, Robert Goddard basically abandoned his research after he got his patents because he couldn't get interest from our own American government. But yet, in Germany, they were supporting all kind of advanced at that time technology, such as the rockets, Goddard's rockets, and the saucer technology, which was even more clandestine, but yet was developed in the 1930s.
And the thing of it is that if you ever go to New Mexico and you notice a slight German accent to all these kids speaking Spanish and everything, right? Basically, it's because the Paperclip scientists went there in New Mexico, is where they brought them into, through Juarez there, and into the Roswell area, because that's where all the action's happening. You have Alamogordo down the road where they're developing the like White Sands, missile tests and everything. Everything was happening in New Mexico, and
Yeah, the atomic bomb was first tested at Jornada del Muerto, called Trinity Site. Uh, that that was the culmination of Manhattan District in the 1940s. 3-year project, and they developed the most terrifying and powerful weapons still to this day, of course, exceeded by the hydrogen bomb, Edward Teller's brainchild. But still to this day, we live in fear of those weapons, and rightly so. I can't see there be any need or want for anyone to ever detonate a nuclear weapon in Earth or in space ever again. It must not happen for obvious reasons.
well, it will happen, mark my words. But Trinity was only 100 miles from Roswell. Most people are unaware of that. That's how close it was. And
And Roswell was the home of the 509th Composite Bomb Group, which were the Colonel Paul Tibbets group, which nuclear bombed and irradiated Hiroshima and Nagasaki. If I was an alien and I saw what was going on Earth, should be able to see the light of an atomic explosion from another planet. They saw Trinity, and they came to Earth just in time to witness Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They said, "Oh boy," and this has been said before, the kids have gotten hold of the matches again.
well, I worked on nuclear weapons. When I was in the military, my last year was was on Pershing missile repair. And I would be like Mr. Countdown. I worked out of a computer box, and I count down everything, and once everything counted down at my desk or my console there, and I flipped the last switch and turned the key. That turns the control over to battalion, which is up the road there, and on up to the president of the United States, who pushed the button to launch them. But yeah, I've worked on them. And those are illegal now. They were the intermediates, which were banned by treaty. But now I think everything's gotten out of control now. Now that you have some kid in North Korea, he's not a kid, but mentally he is, and he's out there, has these nuclear weapons to play with, somewhere capable of reaching the United States, and that scares the heck out of me. So yeah, no telling what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I think people are crazy, but they're not that crazy. Let's hope.
Well, I've lived on too much on hopium. I hope I get this. I hope I get that. But yeah, I hope that everyone comes to our conference in support of this research and gets involved in it themselves. Or if they can't do it, maybe get their kids, grandkids, and that involved in science and technology again, because we have got to get back to this working out of our garages again, or whatever.
That's what the conferences are all about.
Hands-on.
Garage inventors, of which Alexei Chekhov in Russia is one, and he's developing next. He's going to be working on a Mercury Vortex.
Well, we're looking for
Mercury propulsion.
For the conference. We're looking for hardware, not hot air. We need people who've done this stuff to come up and show up, and then show the next generation how to do this, because it's time. We're not going to be around here too much longer, and I'm hoping to pass the torch off here, because too many of my friends have disappeared in the last 3 or 4 years. It just seems to be an accelerating trend here. And it's not because of any nefarious conspiracy. It's just the fact that we're getting old. to some degree.
Yeah, I can't believe how old I am. I'm going to be 61 in a few months, couple of months, and I'm like, I'm in denial. I'm like, no, somebody else, not me. I'm a young person.
I'm 67 right now, and I've been in denial since 55.
Yeah, really.
Uh,
Find out you're not as strong as you once were. You're not sleeping as well as you once did. It's your body just ages like everything else made of matter in this universe.
but it's important for people to come to the conference, and they can touch your stuff, right? They can actually see it move. You know, and a lot of places you don't have that happening. You know, and that's a
Yeah,
common like conferences. I believe a conference is not only it has to be live, but it has to be physical. People have to be there, because if they're not there, it's just another video screen. So and while video is important, I think even more important is the physical contact. People can sit there and enjoy supper with you, right? At the table with you, you know, and you can ask people, look in their eyes and ask them questions, and you can tell by looking at people's eyes if they're telling the truth or not, a lot of times, or just the way they act. Yeah. You don't get that on a TV screen.
yeah, face-to-face contact.
Yeah.
That's opening up more and more as the pandemic is easing.
Well, last conference, I know it's this conference stuff is, this it's going to be open. Like at our last conference, there were no masks. The staff wore masks, but the people didn't have to. I didn't feel uncomfortable, you know, and so I encourage people, and as far as inflation, everybody's worried about inflation right now. Well, sign up now. I'm giving a 35% discount tonight and tonight only. You know, so
Pretty soon we're going to have deflation as things open up even more and more.
yeah, this whole inflation thing is based on shortages right now.
Exactly. Supply and
And,
demand, as always, is
and so
no president could fix the supply and demand market issues.
yeah. And so the only thing is to let the truckers get these trucks rolling and keep them rolling instead of wasting their time at these protests. And let's see. And we have I don't know if you're watching the comments, Russell, but we have a Terran Earthling here asking about the Tesla one-wire system and could it be used like T.T. Brown and James King Jr.
Yeah, James Frank King had a couple of anti-gravity patents. He worked with T. Townsend Brown, Sev Bonney, who I met at a past conference in Colorado Springs. I worked with Brown. It's a one-wire system. Basically, that was kind of used more for Tesla coil energizing system, where you have a single plate capacitor or one section of a craft or the entire craft as a single plate capacitor, or auxiliary propulsion system, attitude control system, and propulsion system where you have single plate capacitors consisting of 3 charged spheres underneath the device and pointing toward a source of gravity. That sort of thing. The single wire system is very important because it can be used with Tesla scalar electromagnetics. And I highly recommend, for details on that, you look at Tom Bearden's books toward a new Tesla scalar electromagnetic series that I started reading back in the 80s. And Tom Bearden just recently passed away a couple months ago. But yeah, I highly recommend you look at his work and also look at the work of Hutchison, the Hutchinson-Hathaway effect that's been dubbed. His work with basically frequency levitation, electromagnetic levitation, and propulsion. That's also way, way over unity. And as well as the Searle technology. Now, Alexei Chekhov mentions all of those methodologies and technologies basically in his device, in his levitational device, which I have been working on for the past little over 3 years now, as well as Now the funding is starting to come in for Searle technology, helping to get that going, working on project plans and project outlines, that sort of thing, because that's the roadmap for success. But yeah, it's all good, and it's all happening down here in Central Florida.
Well, I'm thinking, like our first anti-gravity devices, we shouldn't be so focused on going into space. Maybe something simple like cars, have cars levitate, and they wouldn't need so
Well,
much
that's what
road.
everybody wants, the flying car. That's one of our goals, of course. And air travel with these technologies, you can get from anywhere to anywhere on Earth in 30 minutes or less,
I'm
with
not even
no
thinking.
noise, no pollution, just clean electric propulsion.
Well,
Quiet.
I'm thinking of something pretty basic though, just like your typical Volkswagen, maybe size. Be able to levitate that. If you could levitate that and make that go down the road, you'd be doing something.
I was thinking more something like that, but more like the sexier, more like the spinner cars in Blade Runner, like
That'd
about
be
40 years ago on the big screen.
like second generation there, Chief.
Yeah,
Our
but
problem is
yeah,
everyone wants to jump up, and do the ultimate right away, and that don't happen. I believe real science, once you get the initial breakthrough, building on that is basically incremental. And that's why our schools are important, because they teach you, uh, they can teach you a lot, you know, and you can learn the basics, on like the math and that, and the physics and everything. My biggest beef with education is when they teach it as this is all there is. We have all the facts. This is the science, and it's unchanging. Well, science is always changing because we have to operate on specific parameters. Speed of light, for instance, the speed of light going through air is different than the speed of light going through water. And so, you have boundary layers. And somewhere along the line, they don't really emphasize that the facts you're taught is specific for certain conditions. And those conditions could change as the facts change. And that's where my beef is. And people tell you it's impossible because they don't know the whole picture. Take like rail guns. When they start doing rail guns for the Navy, they kept snapping. Well, that's because they used the Lorentz equations, which was uh, approximations. Like you have a linear component in that, for a current going through a rail, right? And there's a linear component. Well, our equations we operate a lot of times don't include that linear component, because we dropped it off because in most conditions it goes to zero approximately, you know. But once you start up in the voltages and the amperages and everything, things change, Then what was primary all of a sudden becomes secondary, and what was secondary is all of a sudden the primary. That's my biggest beef. So I won't go around saying that education is bad. I encourage it. I got a bachelor's. Perhaps if I would have had um, more money when I was younger and everything, I might have been able to go and get a master's. The Dean told me I could if I wanted to, because my senior year of college, I was doing graduate level work anyway, so he knew I could handle it. That's enough for me. Uh, how about you, Russell? I know you got a degree. Yeah.
yeah. Um, well, like you said, the main thing is we got to get the young people involved in this stuff, and because we're all getting older. Can't believe how much older I am, and I hate to say it, we won't be around forever. I hope some technological breakthrough happens, and we are. But realistically, we got to make room for the next generation, and the next generation is all you young people out there who have hopes and dreams of interplanetary and interstellar travel and new knowledge, new frontiers, and it's really interesting that really to make that happen, no new technological barriers are present. There are no technological hurdles. all this work has been done. It's just now building it.
So we have another question here, Russell. Have you heard of Leak Mirabeau and his unwrapped linear electric motor or flying saucer?
I have heard of Leak Mirabeau. Yes, I'm familiar with a couple of his books. One of his books called Future Flight, and he talks about laser propulsion for spacecraft and zapping, having a ground-based laser zapping propulsion payloads and spacecraft into space, and has done some really, really interesting demonstrations with scale models. But I have not heard of his newest work, and I'm fascinated.
Well, Leak worked for NASA, and he also ran the Resnier Polytech in Troy, New York, and built working man protos. So,
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to look for his newest stuff and see what I come up with. We'll see what he's come up with.
yeah. I can't believe. Now, I just believe that if they put the resources into your work that they put into things, like these other space programs, to the civilians and the military and the NASA, would be there in the civilian world. I think the military is already there, and of course, 90% of what's done in the military is basically behind a black curtain there.
Oh,
And
yeah, definitely. There are black projects that utilize this propulsion and electromagnetic propulsion. I'm certain of it. Absolutely.
and of
We're
course,
doing it for the public, for the general public, not the military industrial complex, not the military industrial elite. We're doing it for you guys. And we welcome all efforts and work in this area, because it's going to benefit everyone, and we will leave this planet in better condition than what we found.
a lot of Tesla's effort was not just in discovering new things, but it was getting the public to buy into them. Because once the public bought into them, then they could have a wherewithal to make it accepted. But people, I mean, let's face it, if you were to come to the conference there in a flying Volkswagen, for instance, and land right there in the courtyard of the conference, like zoom over the building and drop it straight down into the courtyard there, people wouldn't believe it. I mean, they'd be there, but they wouldn't believe it.
Well, a Tic Tac UFO or Tic Tac UAP was supposedly the size and shape of a Volkswagen bus. So there's some correlation there.
Yeah. Who knows? Come to the conference, sit in the courtyard and watch for it to arrive.
I'm going to drive out again, see if I can bring some more demos, like the T.T. Brown flying disc demo that really, got me started back in the 90s, early 90s. So over 30 years ago, I saw that, this propulsion is just fantastically powerful and easy to do. And so I'm going to see about recreating that, the electrokinetic apparatus, and using more up-to-date materials and that sort of thing. And having it behind a plexiglass shield and just demonstrating to the people, look, people, we have this propulsion. It is not beyond human ken.
So, is there anything else you'd like to address before we close it up?
Not right now. Not right now. Perhaps next time we'll have to invite everyone back for a follow-up. But the work is ongoing. We're taking very powerful steps in the background to make sure that we have a future of cheap, clean energy for everyone, and electrogravitic propulsion for everyone, not just the military industrial complex. And we're going to keep educating and disseminating information about electrovitics and showing what incredible advances have been done in the background, even by the people such as PAIS, PAIS, who did the new Navy patents. And apparently the only reason the patents were granted was because the patent office was convinced that these patents were in operation already by the U.S. Navy. How about that?
Wow.
It's already here, but
And I believe that.
we need to get it in the hands of the average Joe, and also the scientific community and the propulsion community, because they will take this technology and run with it, as was done in the past prior to World War II in Germany.
Okay. And if you don't mind, Russell, if you in the comment section, um, just type, if you would, just tell people how to contact you, maybe with an email address so they could drop you a
Yeah,
note.
yeah, yeah. Let's see. Can I write something in the comment section? Will
Yes,
it
you can.
show
That's
up?
what I just did. I just put
Okay.
my address so people will know how to get hold of me if they have
Ah,
any comments on that. And we're always open to comments here. I'm looking for people to get on the show with us. Maybe speak at the conference coming up in August. Uh, I'm working on the magazine right now. Working. It seems like there's always something coming up. Like like right now, I'm getting ready to. Um, I'm going to move my stuff again because I'm losing the storage unit because the guy who owns the storage unit decides he don't want to rent to me no more. He wants to put his stuff in there, so I gotta go find another storage unit to put stuff in, which I've already found. It's just got a matter of moving, and I gotta move about 100,000 magazines. So if you guys
oh gosh.
get some back issues, really appreciate that. Uh, I'm looking forward to more conferences opening up this summer. Some of the ones I had planned to go to have already canceled, which is a big disappointment. Um, but we plan on being there in Albuquerque, and I don't see anything blocking us short of a nuclear war. So, so anyway, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah. It should be a great conference this year. Looking forward to that too. I always love traveling to New Mexico, and we'll see if we can have some more demos at the expo section at my table, and we're going to give you guys a good PowerPoint presentation on the history of electrogravitic flying craft, starting with pre-Nazi Germany.
Okay, and yeah, we have a much bigger exhibit area than we have in years past there at the Crown Plaza because we restructured some of the things. We took off one of the stages, so we won't have uh, we'll be the only conference there this year. And by moving the duplication area closer to the bookstore, it just uh, gives us even more space for people to come and put demonstrations in. So, did you post your contact information?
I'm trying to get into the comment section, and I can't seem to be able to post a comment.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll just use the one I use to get to you.
Let's see if I can. Uh, let's see. Oh, here we go.
And like I
I'll
say, no,
try
we're
to
just
post
not
it.
getting used to this stream out here. Um, I really like the StreamYard. It's very easy to use, and it's very makes it easy to flow things. So
Yeah, here we go. That's the website, www.spintronicstech.com. And I don't know if that's showing up in the comments section, but private chat, I was able to add it.
I just added to the comments.
Yeah. Let's see. Private chat.
Comments at the very top of the page.
Yeah, it's almost at the very top of the page. I
Yeah,
don't know how I'm going to get that over the comments section.
yes, I put it up in the comments already.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
So yeah, so for that, I'm gonna call it a night, and
Yeah. What a great conversation. Hope that I have uplifted everyone figuratively, if not literally, and that you will investigate Tesla Tech and come to the conference and look for the forthcoming publication, and see how you young people can get involved in alternative energy and propulsion. It's going to be your world, so make it a good one.
Okay, and let's see. Anyway, I'll see you next week. And let me encourage everyone to go on online there to YouTube channel and join, with the $9.99, so you can see all the new videos we have coming up immediately. We have I've just converted over 100, which we picked up next week. And so by being an exclusive member, you can see those, right away, immediately. Yeah, otherwise, you're going to have to wait because we only allow 2 per day to go public, So, and when you support these stations, supporting us, and I have thousands, literally thousands more videos I'm getting ready to convert. I got 10 years worth of global sciences. I got the Tesla Society ones coming in. I had the Mars conference that the Tesla Society put together, with them and everything. So looking forward to then. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
You're welcome.
Nighty night, everybody.
Night.